countenance and Satchidananda Rupaya means the Lord who is full of cognition, bliss and knowledge, Vishwapatyadi Hetave. And then Vyasadeva says in Padma Purana, who is the original cause. Hetu means who is the original cause of Adi, Madhya and Anta. Vishwasya Adi, Madhya, Antasya Hetuhu. Iti Vishwapatyadi Hetave. This is the Sanskrit analysis. This is the grammatical analysis of the phrase, of the compound phrase. That who is the original cause for the creation, maintenance and dissolution? Who is the original cause? That is why, because Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva are the gunavataras of Sri Krishna is actually the original cause for these three conditions affecting the material world, Srishti, Sthiti and Pralaya. And that is why Vedanta Sutra says Janmadhyasya yataha. Janmadhyasya yataha. Sri Krishna of Vrindavan is the original cause for the creation, maintenance and dissolution of the Ekpad Vibhuti, of the 1/4 of the total creation, that is the material world. But what is the uniqueness? The uniqueness is the speciality, the peculiar nature, the most amazing and astonishing, surprising thing is that even though this Shri Krishna may be the original cause for the annihilation, dissolution and maintenance of this material world, even though he may be the cause, yato va imani bhutani jayante yena jatani jivanti yena abhisamvishanti. From whom all the living entities are created, in whom they are existing, and in whom they again re-enter at the time of dissolution. Taittiriya Upanishad says. But even though this is the case, Janmadhyasya yataha, second aphorism of Vedanta Sutra, the third aphorism of Vedanta Sutra says that the Shastras or scriptures, they are even the cause for the Parabrahma. How this is? Parabrahma, the absolute truth, he is the cause for this material world. Because he is the Adi Hetu, he is the original cause for the whole creation. Janmadhyasya yataha. But even the original cause for Parabrahma is the Shastra. Shastra Yonitvat. Shastra or the Vedic revealed scriptures, they are the original cause. Actually the word Yoni has been used here, which means that part of the female body which gives birth to the child. Which gives birth to the child. So in the same way, the Vedic scriptures, the Shastras, they are giving birth to Parabrahma or the absolute truth. Shastra Yonitva. This is the position of the Shastra. Now, question arises, in which way the Shastras are giving birth to the Parabrahma? Because in the other part of the Shastra, Chandogya Upanishad, which falls within the Samaveda Samhita, Chandogya Upanishad, which falls within the Samaveda Samhita, it has been described, Maharshi Yajnavalkya says to Gargi, that evam va asya mahato bhutasya nihishwasitam etad yad rigavedah yajurvedah samaveda atharvangirasah itihasah pramanam. That, O Gargi, or O Maitreyi, from this absolute truth, mahato bhutasya, who is all-pervading super soul known as Karana Dakshayi Mahavishnu, lying or resting on the causal ocean, Karana Samudra, Virjanadi, Tatastha Jagat, alias marginal world. These are all synonymous terminologies describing the same place. So, those scriptures like the four Vedas and the names are given. Rigveda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, Atharva Angirasah, Itihasah Purana. Purana means the 18 Mahapuranas, including Srimad Bhagavatam. Itihasa means Mahabharata, which is the greatest history, and the four Vedas. All the four Vedas, along with Mahabharata, and Ramayana is also considered to be Itihasa Kavya, along with Valmiki Ramayana, along with all the 18 Puranas. These all have been emanated from Nihishwasitam Etad, from the exhalation, Shwas, Nihishwasitam Etad, from the exhalation of whom? Of Mahato Bhutasya, of the great all-pervading super soul known as Karana Dakshayi Mahavishnu. From his exhalation, all the Shastras have emanated. So now the question arises that if Shastras have emanated, if the Vedic scriptures, the revealed scriptures have emanated from the exhalation, from the outward breath of Mahavishnu, then how can it be said in Vedanta Sutra, how it is appealing to the mind, or how it can be justified that the Shastras are in turn the original source for the Parabrahma's manifestation? This is reconciled. This is reconciled, although ontologically speaking, the Shastras are not the cause for the manifestation of Parabrahma. Because rather the Shastras are made manifest from Parabrahma, Karana Vakshai Mahavishnu, by his exhalation, from his body, from his nostrils. But even though ontologically that may be the case, ontologically speaking, although that may be the case, morphologically speaking now, these are the theoretical terms. Even though ontologically speaking, that may be the reality that the Shastras have emanated from Karana Vakshai Mahavishnu's exhalation, but morphologically speaking, the knowledge in regards to the nature, in regards to the identity, and in regards to the principle of the absolute truth, Parabrahma Tattva Jnana, that comes only through the Shastra. And because, in one sense, the knowledge in regards to Parabrahma is not different from Parabrahma, that is why it is said that even Parabrahma's original source is the Shastra. Because Parabrahma or Bhagavan Shri Krishna, he is to be considered non-dual. And what does non-dual mean? Govind, the Bhashyakar or the commentator on the Vedanta Sutra in our Sampradaya, especially Sri Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, that is the preceptorial lineage descending from Sri Gaurasundara Mahaprabhu, Baldev Vidyabhushan, who is the commentator on Brahma Sutra in our Sampradaya, he has said in his Brahma Sutra Bhashya that the Parabrahma or the Supreme Absolute Truth is devoid of three types of differences within his personality. Three types of differences. He is devoid of Swagata Bhed, he is devoid of Vijatiya Bhed, and he is devoid of Sajatiya Bhed. What is the meaning? What does Sajatiya Bhed mean? Sajatiya Bhed means that if there exists anyone equal to you in all respects, then that creates difference between the two equal items, and that is known as Sajatiya Bhed. If there exists any entity who is completely equal to you but still separately existing from you, then that creates difference between the two equal objects or items, and that is known as Swajatiya Bhed. And then comes Vijatiya Bhed. Vijatiya Bhed means if there exists any entity who is different from the existence of yourself, who is different from the existence of yourself in all respects, Atyantik Bhed. Atyantik Bhed means ultimate difference. If there exists an object or item or an entity which is completely different from the existence of the Absolute Truth or the personality of Godhead, then the difference between the completely different, between the totally differently existing living entity with that of the personality of Godhead, that difference will be known as Vijatiya Bhed. And what is Swagata Bhed? Swagata Bhed means within the nature, within the identity, within the form of the Lord, there is some difference. So Swagata Bhed means if someone is trying to say that the Lord's outer form and his inner self are different, that is Swagata Bhed. Swagata Bhed means trying to establish that there is difference between the personality of Godhead. Yeah, there is difference between the personality of God. His body is different and his inner self is different. That is called Swagata Bhed, but the Swagata Bhed is not applicable in the Absolute Truth. And the reason why it is not applicable will be described later. Then the second thing is, Vijatiya Bhed is not applicable to the Absolute Truth. There exists no such entity whose existence is completely independent from the existence of the personality of Godhead. Although according to Vedic, although according to the Vaishnava conception or the Vaishnava school of thought, may that be Ramanuj, Vishishtadvait, Madhva, or Bhag, or Vishnu Swami, or Achintya Bheda Bhed of Gaudiya Sampradaya, all the Vaishnava school of thoughts, they have agreed that the living entities have Dvaita. Their relation with Absolute Truth is not Advaita as propounded by Adi Shankaracharya. Complete monism, complete non-difference between the living entity and the soul. Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya Jivo Brahmai Manavara. Shankaracharya said that living entities are the absolute truth themselves. There is absolutely no difference existing between the Jivatma and the Paramatma. But the Vaishnavacharyas have opposed this point and they have tried to establish, yes, there exists difference between the living entities and the personality of Godhead. And this difference can never be erased, can never be destroyed. It is eternally existing. Even when living entity merges into the impersonal Brahman effulgence during Brahma Sayujya Mukti, even at that time, although he may be considered merged into the impersonal Brahman, he still has his ontological difference existing from the absolute truth even at that time, even in the status of merging with impersonal Brahman. It is Atyantika Bheda. The Bheda is there. The difference exists eternally. Nitya Bheda is there. But even though the Nitya Bheda is there, Atyantika Bheda is not there. Eternal difference between the living entity and the personality of Godhead is existing, but ultimate difference between the personality of Godhead and the living entity is not existing. How? Because if we say that the ultimate difference or Atyantika Bheda between Jiva and Ishvara is existing, then it would mean that there is absolutely no relation between the Jiva and Ishvara, and that the Jiva is not dependent for his existence on the existence of the Lord. The Lord, he is existing all by himself in a completely autonomous, autocratic way, and the living entities are also being ultimately different, having Atyantika Bhed with the Lord. They are also existing completely on their own, by their own selves, as if they were also be autonomous and autocratic. But that's not the case. Lord Krishna says the living entity's existence may be separate from my existence eternally, but still they have to depend upon me for their existence. That is why Mattah Parataram Nanya Tinchidasti Dhananjaya Mai Sarvamidam Protam Sutramani Ganaiva Srimad Bhagavad Gita 7th chapter. The Lord has substantiated this point by saying that there exists no entity exalted or superior to me in all the three worlds, but all the other entities who are not exalted and superior to me and who are not even equal to me, because I am the only Samavruttva. I am the one who is not equaled by anyone, who is not surpassed by anyone, who is not excelled by anyone. A Samavruttva. That is why all the other entities are inferior to me, but all these other entities who are inferior to me, who are lower to me in position, they have to, although they are different from me in their existence, but still they have to depend upon me for their existence, just like the pearls strung on a thread of cotton have to depend on the thread of the cotton. The pearls which are strung, they have to depend for their existence. For their existence in a sequential order, they have to depend upon the thread of the cotton thread. In the same way, all the living entities have to depend upon me. And what to speak of living entities? All other incarnations, like Ram, Narayan, Matsya, Vara, Kurma, although they are not separately existing from the Lord, as is the case with the living entities. Living entities are separately existing with the Lord, Dvaita. But the avatars or the incarnations, they are not separately existing from the Lord. Even though they are not separately existing from the Lord, they are Vishnu Tattvas, they are Swanshas, they are not Vibhinnanshas like the living entities, but still they also have to depend upon for their existence upon Lord Shri Krishna, who is the Swayam Bhagavan. Ramadi Murtishu and Dipakchireva. These two shlokas that we quoted yesterday from Brahma Samhita. Aniti Chanchkara from Sri Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. So, Shri Krishna, ontologically speaking, Vijatiya Bhed cannot exist with him. Even though we accept the Dvaita or eternal difference between the living entity and the personality of God, they can never become one. They are differently existing, but still the living entities and have to depend for their existence on the Lord. That is why eternal difference between these two, Paramatma and Jiva, is accepted, but not the ultimate difference. Atyantik Bhed. Nitya Bhed is accepted, but not the Atyantik Bhed. Atyantik Bhed would mean they are not dependent on each other for their existence, but that's not the case. Then what's the usefulness and what's the utility of Lord Shri Krishna's being absolute personality of Godhead or Parabrahma Paratattva? If the other living entities have no relation with him in order to survive. That is why, because he is the original shelter, Because he is the Ashraya Tattva, he is the Ashraya Tattva, he is the Sanam Bonam, and all others have to rest upon him. That is why ultimate difference cannot be established. That is why there is no Vijatiya Bhed. And then there is no Sajatiya Bhed. Sajatiya Bhed means that there is no other entity or object, inanimate or animate, sentient or insentient, cognitive or incognitive, movable or immovable. There is no other object, personal or impersonal, there is no other object in this world which can equal the nature and the personality of the Absolute Truth. Because he is asamauto, he cannot be equaled. That is why there is no Sajatiya Bhed. The difference between two equal people is completely equal, is known as Sajatiya Bhed. But there is no one equal to the Lord, that is why there is no Sajatiya Bhed with him. And there is no one completely different from the Lord in all respects. That is why there is no Atyanta Bhed or ultimate difference, that is why there is no Vijatiya Bhed. And there is no Swagata Bhed. The Lord, his personality is not divided into many parts, that his body is different and his inner self is different. So because of these three types of differences are not existing within the Lord, he is known as Advaya Jnana Tattva, or the non-dual absolute truth. Non-dual means who has no duality. Who has no duality. So, Athato Brahma Jigyasa, we were explaining that because the Lord has no duality, because there is no Swagata Bhed within him, now we will only concentrate on the Swagata Bhed, forget the Vijatiya and Sajatiya. Our main point was Swagata Bhed, but that cannot be understood without explaining the other two types of differences. Because Swagata Bhed does not exist within the personality of Lord, that is why whatever which is part of his personality is not different from his personality. Like the names, transcendental nomenclatures assigned to his personality, transcendental nomenclatures and divine designations, holy names, sacred names, that we are talking about now here, Bhagavan Naam. Those transcendental nomenclatures assigned to the personality of Godhead, those transcendental attributes and qualities assigned to the personality of Godhead, those pastimes and divine deeds and enchanting exploits which are performed by him, Leela, Naam, Gun, Leela, and the external form of Shri Krishna, Roop, Naam, Roop, Gun, Leela, and the Dham, the resting place or the abode or the safe heaven where the Lord resides, the realm of the Lord, Dham, and Parikar, those associates of the Lord who are the products of the internal potency, Nitya Siddha Parikar. They are all different, they are all non-different, completely non-different from the Lord's inner personality, because Swagata Bhed does not exist within him. That is why Vishishtadvaita philosophy founder Ramanujacharya, he is the first one to establish that the names, forms, qualities and pastimes of the Lord are non-different from his inner self. And because of this, the transcendental knowledge regarding the names, forms, pastimes and qualities of the Lord is also non-different from the inner self of the Lord. And that is why, because this knowledge, because this transcendental knowledge, Paravidya, Adhyatma Vidya, Brahma Vidya, can only be received from the Shastras, that is why it is said that the ultimate cause or the source of Parabrahma, absolute truth, is the Shastra. Because Bhagavad Gyan is not different from Bhagavan. Knowledge regarding the personality of Godhead is not different from Bhagavan, because the knowledge regarding the personality of Godhead must include the knowledge regarding his names, qualities, pastimes and paraphernalia. And because these things are not different from the Lord, that is why automatically the knowledge in regards to the Lord becomes non-different from him. Bhagavan is non-different from Bhagavad Gyan. And that is why those Shastras who are propounding Bhagavad Gyan, who are propounding the knowledge regarding the personality of Godhead, they are considered to be the cause of Parabrahma or absolute truth in one sense. That is why Shastra Yonitva. Shastra Yonitva. And then again Vyasadeva says that Shrutis tu Shabdatva, that Lord who may be the cause of this material world and material creation, but his cause is the Shastra. His origin is the Shastra because of this. And then Shrutis tu Shabdamulatva. Shrutistu Shabda Mulatvat means that the origin, mool, the origin, the root cause, the mool of the absolute truth is Shruti Shabda. Shruti means the Vedas and Shabda means the transcendental sound vibration. The transcendental sound vibration which is existing in the form of Vedas and Puranas, Shrutis and Smritis, is known as Shrutistu Shabda Mulatvat. And because the original root cause, mool means root cause, of Parabrahma is Shruti, the Vedas. And Vedas are the transcendental sound vibration. That is why Shastra has even more importance than Bhagavan. And that is why Jiva Goswami Pada has said in his Tattva Sandarbha, especially in his Sarva Samvadini commentary on Tattva Sandarbha, Jiva Goswami Pada, the greatest philosopher, and it would not be inappropriate to say, it would not be it would not be an exaggeration. Ye atishayokti nahi hogi. It would not be exaggeration to boldly declare that if Jiva Goswami Pad would have remained as a contemporary of Adi Shankar Bhagavad Pad, of Ramanuja Bhagavad Pad, of Madhva, of Nimbar and of Vishnu Swami, then all these other acharyas would not have shown so much in the pages of history. On the pages of history, all these other acharyas would not have shown so much, would not have become illuminated so much on the pages of history. This is not an exaggeration. Because the logic that Jiva Goswami Pada establishes is, in one sense, it is very simple logic, but in another sense, that logic is having such sharpness that it destroys the arguments and the logic given by all the different acharyas who have established the different sects and sampradayas. That is why the logic that Jiva Goswami has used is all based on the same Shastra from which the other acharyas established their sects. Other acharyas also established their sects from the same Vedas and Puranas. But they could not excavate those subtle points of logic and reasoning which Jiva Goswami excavated. And that is why Jiva Goswami, whatever he has done, it is not the product of his own mind. Swakapol Kalpitatva. No. Swakapol Kalpitatva has no room in Jiva Goswami's writing. Swakapol Kalpitatva means concoction, speculation. Has no room in Jiva Goswami's writing. Whatever he has written is actually coming from the same Mula Shastra of Vyasadeva, but he has excavated those subtle points and of reasoning and logic that have defeated all the other acharyas and made the position of all the different sampradayas and other acharyas quite demeaned in comparison to the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya's final theory of Achintya Bheda. Yes. That is why it would not be an exaggeration to say that if Jiva Goswami Pad would have remained as contemporary of these other previous acharyas, these acharyas would not have shown so much in the history. They would not have shown forth, actually. Shankaracharya's name would be barely existing if Jiva was his contemporary. If Jiva was the contemporary of Ramanuj Madhva, their names would have been barely existing in this particular time. That is why the Jiva Goswami Pad, now what's the logic he is giving here? He is saying in his Sarva Samvadini that Shastra is the ultimate praman, is the ultimate evidence for getting pramay. Praman is the cause of pramay, pramay is the effect, and praman is the cause. Karya Karana Sambandh, cause and effect relationship. Cause and effect relationship. Just like milk turns into curd or yogurt by the action of different acids, milk turns into curd, curd is the effect, milk is the cause. Karya Karana. Janya Janak Sambandh. Janya Janak Bhav. The creator and the created. The creator and the creator or the cause and effect. So the same relationship here applies with Shastra and Bhagavad Gyan. Bhagavad Gyan or knowledge in regards to the personality of Godhead is known as effect and the cause is Shastra, evidence. So Pramay is the effect. Pramay means scriptural conclusion. Sambandha Videya and Prayojan. That is Pramay. Pramay, scriptural conclusion, Shastra Siddhant or the Bhagavad Gyan is the effect and the cause is the Shastra. So Jiva Goswami says Shastra is the cause for for the knowledge in regards to the absolute truth. And Lord Shri Krishna has also corroborated this fact in Bhagavad Gita 16th chapter in two last verses by saying, Tasmat Shastra Pramanante Karya Karya Vyavasthitau. Tasmat Shastra Pramanante Karya Karya Vyavasthitau. What ought to be done and what ought not to be done. What has to be done, performed, what is to be performed and what is not to be performed, all has to be decided on the benign, unquestionable authority of the Shastra. Shastras are unquestionable, no possibility of democracy prevailing in Dharma. Why? Because religion or Dharma is rather made manifest by the Lord. That is why Yamraj, one of the 12 Mahajanas, or one of the 12 pillars of religion, Yamraj is one of the 12 pillars of religion, one of the Dwadash Mahajana, one of the 12 Mahajanas, and he has declared in the 6th canto of Bhagavatam that Dharmam tu sakshad bhagavat pranitam, and then he has said Dharma moolam tu bhagavan vedamayo hari. Dharma moolam tu bhagavan vedamayo hari. Lord Hari is actually the root cause of Dharma. Dharma moolam tu bhagavan. And Yamaraj says Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. We the 12 Mahajanas, we are just the propagators and the preachers of this Sanatana Vedic Dharma, but we are not the original creator or source of Sanatana Vedic Dharma. The source who has made the Sanatana Vedic Dharma manifest is Bhagavan Narayana, Bhagavan Hari. Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. Dharma has been directly created by the Lord. Sakshat, directly. Sakshat Bhagavat Pranitam. Sakshat भगवान के द्वारा प्रणीत है धर्म, उनके द्वारा आविर्भूत हुआ है. Yes. And because Lord is the creator of the religion, that is why no other form of belief which is created by anyone except anyone besides the Lord can be considered dharma or Sanatana Vedic Dharma or eternal religion. Eternal religion is made manifest, is created by the Lord. It is never created by any messenger, any prophet, any son of God, or any other representative of the God. That is the difference between the Dharma established on the benign authority of the Vedas and the Dharma established by faith, established by other sects and beliefs and so-called processes of theism. So Dharma is established by Lord Narayana, by no one else. And even though the Dharma may have been established or may have been created or may have been made manifest by Lord Narayana, and Lord Narayana may be the original cause for Dharma, but this Dharma again has to be decided on the benign authority of Shastra. Shastra is the one which acquaints us with the real form of Dharma. What is the true form of religion? And because the Shastras have also been created by the Lord, एवं वा अरे अस्य महतो भूतस्य निश्वसितं वेदं यद् ऋग्वेदः यजुर्वेदः सामवेदः अथर्वाङ्गिरस इतिहासः प्रमाणं बृहदारण्यक छान्दोग्योपनिषद. Because the Shastras have emanated from the exhalation of Lord Narayana, and because religion or Dharma has also been emanated from Lord Narayana, and because the Shastras are propounding Dharma, that is why there is interrelationship between them, which is quite integrated, which cannot be made separate from each other. Bhagavan, Dharma and the Shastra, all these have very firm interrelationship, which cannot be separated. It's an integrated interrelationship, antarik sambandh. So now Jiva Goswami Pad establishes that suppose one may think here that suppose Bhagavan is the original cause for Dharma, Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam, as Yamraj has declared in the Shashtham Skand, in the 6th canto of Bhagavatam. So if Lord is the original cause for Dharma, then in whatever incarnation, in whichever incarnation the Lord comes, and whatever he propounds can be considered Dharma, Jiva Goswami Pad refuses the point. He says that if this were to be the case, then the teachings, then the sermons, then the gospels and doctrines and instructions given by Lord Buddha and Lord Dattatreya would also be considered authorized. But Lord Dattatreya's instructions are not considered authorized, and Lord Buddha's instructions are not considered bona fide, quite authoritative, no? They are not authorized philosophies. They are the way they have presented religion, the Dattatreya and Buddha, is not the authorized form. Now, again the question can be posed here, that if Lord is the cause of dharma, and if Bhagavan Buddha is none other than incarnation of Lord Narayana, and if Bhagavan Dattatreya is also none other than incarnation of Lord Narayana, both of these, Dattatreya and Buddha, they are to be considered incarnations of Lord Narayana, because the Puranas like Srimad Bhagavatam and other Puranas, they have confirmed this fact that Buddha and Dattatreya are avatars, they are incarnations of Lord Vishnu, they are incarnations of Lord, they are Bhagavad Avatar. So if they are Bhagavad Avatar, then whatever they propound has to be accepted, because whatever Bhagavan or his avatar says is religion. And one can also argue that Yada Yada Dharmasya, Bhagavan's avatar, the incarnation of the Lord, incarnates just to establish religion and to demean the irreligion which is on the predominant forms. So whatever Buddha has given in his instructions, whatever Dattatreya has given in his instructions is also authorized, because they are Bhagavad avatars and therefore to establish the religion and drive away the irreligion. But Jiva Goswami Pad says no, even then no. Even if the Lord himself comes and he speaks something against the benign authority of the Vedic scriptures, then even his speech, even his instruction is not to be accepted as authorized, it is to be considered bogus. यदि भगवान भी स्वयं आकर उनके दूध की बात जाने दो, उनके पुत्र की बात जाने दो, उनके शिष्य की बात जाने दो, या उनके भक्त की बात जाने दो, या किसी आचार्य की बात जाने दो, यदि स्वयं भगवान भी बुद्ध देव के रूप में या दत्तात्रेय के रूप में आकर वेदों के विपरीत किसी सिद्धांत की शिक्षा देते हैं, किसी उपदेश की शिक्षा देते हैं, तो उसको भी अप्रामाणिक मान के क्या होगा? इसका कारण क्या है? What's the reason? What's the reason? If Lord is the original source for religion, if Lord is the original source for religion, then why it is considered in a stubborn way by Jiva Goswami? One can become very argumentative, taking the side of total opposition. One can refute this point of Jiva Goswami by becoming completely argumentative. And one can say that if Lord is the cause of religion, then what Jiva Goswami Pad is saying is completely stubborn statement. ये तो हक है, ये तो बाल हक है. This is like childish, stubborn behavior. If the Lord himself comes and says something, but it does not suit the scripture, that is unauthorized. How can Jiva Goswami Pad dare to pronounce this stubborn statement which is manifesting his childish, stubborn behavior? The answer is given by Jiva Goswami in a very nice way. He says, this is not my stubborn behavior. Because the same Shastras, the same Puranas and same Vedas, who boldly declare that Dattatreya and Buddha are the incarnations of the Lord, they also simultaneously boldly declare that whatever instruction Buddha and Dattatreya have given is bogus. That is why. यदि आप ये कहते हो कि दत्तात्रेय और बुद्ध भगवान हैं, इसलिए उन्होंने जो भी कहा वो सब क्या है, तो सुन लीजिए, आपको ये ज्ञान कहां से हुआ कि दत्तात्रेय और बुद्ध भगवान हैं? ये ज्ञान जो आपको हो रहा है वह भी शास्त्र के आधार पर हो रहा है, क्योंकि शास्त्र आपको जना रहे हैं, क्योंकि शास्त्र आपको जना रहे हैं, क्योंकि शास्त्र आपको सूचित कर रहे हैं, आपको भली भांति इस तथ्य से अवगत कर रहे हैं कि बुद्ध और दत्तात्रेय भगवान है, अतएव आप बुद्ध और दत्तात्रेय को भगवान मानने को बाध्य हो गए. लेकिन वही शास्त्र जो बुद्ध और दत्तात्रेय को भगवान बना रहे हैं, वो कह रहे हैं कि बुद्ध और दत्तात्रेय ने जो शिक्षा दी वो अप्रामाणिक है. Yes. So on the very best basis on which you are thinking that Buddha and Dattatreya are incarnations of the Lord, that very same basis, that means the Shastras are simultaneously declaring that whatever instructions Buddha and Dattatreya have given are unauthorized. So you have no more argument to do. This is what Jiva Goswami said. And that is why he has said that who even the incarnation of the Lord, forget about the acharyas, forget about prophets and messengers, even the incarnation of the Lord, even the Lord himself speaks against the benign authority of the Shastra is to be rejected. This is Shastra Pramana. Tasmat Shastram Pramanante. And the Lord himself says that Shastra is the actual evidence in regards to the nature of dharma or religion. So, Shastra is not only the original cause for the knowledge of Parabrahma, but Shastra is also the original cause for the nature and identity of dharma. Shastra is not only Brahma Mool, but also Dharma Mool. These are two specialties of Shastra. Now, once the Shastra has been established in this way, the preeminent position, the preeminent highest position of the Shastras have been established in this way, now we will progress further on establishing that Srimad Bhagavat is Sarva Praman, Sarva Shastra, Shiromani, Sarva Praman Chakravarti. Srimad Bhagavatam is the topmost type of scripture available. Now, Puranas, Vedas, Mahabharata, they have all been described to be coming from the exhalation of Lord Karana Vakshay Mahavishnu. So they are all Shastras or scriptures having equal importance. It is not that the Vedas have more importance and the Puranas less, as I will not give the name, but as some of the so-called, one so-called sect in India says that only Vedas are to be considered authorized and the Puranas not. But this is completely not accepted by the Veda, because the same Veda says, the Chandogya Upanishad falling within Samaveda says, Itihasa Purana. Itihas and Purana, Mahabharata and the Puranas have same importance as the four Vedas. And that is why it has been said, Itihasa Purana Panchamo Veda Uchyate, that Mahabharata and the 18 Puranas are considered to be the fifth Veda. Four Vedas and then Purana and Mahabharata are the fifth Veda. Pancham Veda. So, among all these different scriptures, there are three types of divisions made, as I was describing. Shruti Prasthan, Smriti Prasthan, and Nyaya Prasthan. Now we will again come back to the original point. What is Shruti Prasthan? Shruti Prasthan means the four Vedas. But what part of the four Vedas? The 108 Upanishads which fall within the Jnana Kanda section. You see, there are three divisions of the four Vedas: Karma Kand, Jnana Kand, and Upasana Kand. And as we described yesterday, 86,000 mantras in Karma Kand, 10,000 mantras in 10,000 mantras in Upasana Kand, and last 4,000 mantras in Jnana Kand. Total 100,000 mantras in all the four Vedas combined. That's the amount. That's how big they are. So the last 4,000 mantras are the Jnana Kanda section. And Jnana Kanda section falls at the end of the Veda. That is why, because the Jnana Kanda section falls in the end of the Veda, it is known as Vedanta section. The ending part of the Vedas, Vedanta. And Jnana Kanda or Vedanta section is again divided into 108 Upanishads, Ashtottar Shata Shruti Mala. Ashtottar Shata Shruti Mala or Ashtottar Shata Upanishad. Upanishad Nichaya. Nichaya means the aggregate of 108 Upanishads. And among these 108 Upanishads, 10 or 12 Upanishads starting from Ishavasya etc. are considered to be the most important. Ishavasya, Taitareya, Aitareya, Mundak, Mandukya, Shvetashvatar, Chandogya, Brihadaranya, etc. Gopal, Takni, all these 12 Upanishads are considered to be the having most superior position. So Shruti Prasthan may mean Vedas in one sense, but specifically, generally it may mean all the four Vedas, but specifically Shruti Prasthan means the 10 or 12 most important Upanishads. That is Shruti Prasthan. Second division of the Vedic scriptures that has been established by the Acharyas is Smriti Prasthan. Smriti means anything which is besides the four Vedas, which is not within the four Vedas. So the fifth Veda, Panchama Veda, Itihas and Puran, Mahabharata and the Puranas are considered Smriti Prasthan. Smriti Prasthan, Mahabharata and the Puranas are considered Smriti Prasthan. Anything which is different or which is on top of the four Vedas. The fifth Veda, the Pancham Veda is Smriti Prasthan. So now there are 18 Puranas and then there is Mahabharata. Generally speaking, all these are considered within Smriti Prasthan, but specifically speaking, only Srimad Bhagavad Gita is considered to be falling within Smriti Prasthan. Generally, specifically Srimad Bhagavad Gita or Gita-Upanishad. Srimad Bhagavad Gita. And Srimad Bhagavad Gita is part of Mahabharata. Mahabharata has 18 cantos. So one of the 18 cantos is Bhishma Parva. And Bhishma Parva, chapters 25 to 42, these 18 chapters are Bhagavad Gita. Chapters 25 to chapters 42 within the Bhishma Parva of Mahabharata is Bhagavad Gita. So Bhagavad Gita is part of Mahabharata. And Mahabharata is also Smriti, as the other 18 Puranas. So specifically Mahabharata is considered Smriti. Representing the Smriti Prasthan. Specifically Bhagavad Gita, specifically speaking, Bhagavad Gita is considered to be representing the Smriti Prasthan. Specifically speaking, the 12 main Upanishads are considered to be representing Shruti Prasthan. And now, third division, Nyaya Prasthan. What is Nyaya Prasthan? Nyaya Prasthan means the 6 systems of theistic philosophy. Astik Darshan. 6 systems of theistic philosophy which have been propounded by different 6 sages of yore. Different 6 sages, rishis and maharshis of antiquity, of the preceding eras and ages. Like Gautam Muni has compiled system of theistic thought known as Nyaya Darshan or Nyaya philosophy, which is one of the Shad Darshan or the 6 philosophies, 6 systems of philosophy. Then Maharshi Kanad, he has developed, he has invented and he has compiled, he is the original author, and the whole credit for the Vaisheshik system of philosophy goes to Kanada Rishi. Kanada is the founder of Vaisheshik system of philosophy. Gautam is the founder of Nyaya system. Then Patanjali is the founder of the Yoga system of philosophy, Yoga Darshan. He is the original author of Yoga Sutra, Patanjali Yoga Sutra. Maharshi Gautam, he is the original author for Nyaya Sutra. Maharshi Kanad is the original author for Vaisheshik Sutra. These are the books written by them. Then comes Maharshi Kapil. And Maharshi Kapil, who is the incarnation of Agnidev. He is different from the Kapil who is the incarnation of Lord Narayan in the 3rd canto of Bhagavatam, son of Kardam and Devhuti. No. This Maharshi Kapil is the incarnation of Agnidev. And this Maharshi Kapil has compiled one system of philosophy known as Sankhya Darshan. And Sankhya Darshan is the 4th system of philosophy. Sankhya Sutra is the name of the book written by him. Then comes Purva Mimamsa Darshan. What is Purva Mimamsa Darshan? Purva Mimamsa Darshan means describing the former part of the Veda, that is Karmakanda. Analysis on the Karmakanda portion of the Vedas, which is the former part of the Veda, because the latter portion of the Veda is Jnanakanda or Vedanta. So the former part of the Veda, Karmakanda, the analysis, Sukshma Mimamsa and Sukshma Samiksha, the subtle analysis, the most conclusive analysis on the former part of the Veda, that is Karmakanda, is known as Purva Mimamsa Darshan. Also, and that has been written by Maharshi Jaimini. He is the founder of this philosophy, and Maharshi Jaimini is the direct disciple of Krishna Dvaipayan Vyas. He is also the first Acharya of Samavedic tradition. Then comes, and so Maharshi Jaimini has written a book called Dharma Sutra that is describing the Purva Mimamsa Darshan, the Purva Mimamsa system. And the first aphorism of Dharma Sutra is Athato Dharma Jigyasa. Now let us therefore inquire deeply into the nature of dharma characterized by Karmakand. And then the sixth system of philosophy, the last, is known as Uttar Mimamsa. Because the last or the sixth system is an in-depth analysis, Vishleshan, is an in-depth analysis on the latter portion of the Vedas, that is the Vedanta or Jnana-kanda portion, that is the 108 Upanishads. So the analysis on 108 Upanishads, what actually the 108 Upanishads are trying to say, are trying to propound, are trying to establish, is judged by Lord Vyasadeva in the sixth system of philosophy known as Uttar Mimamsa Darshan, also known as Vedanta Darshan. Vedanta Darshan. And Vedanta Darshan, what is the original book? Brahma Sutra or Vedanta Sutra, consisting of 540 aphorisms. 540 सूत्र है ब्रह्म सूत्र में, और ब्रह्म सूत्र साक्षात भगवान व्यासदेव के द्वारा लिखित अपने श्री हस्तों से. And in the 540 aphorisms of Brahma Sutra, Vyasadeva has not only given the conclusion, the essence of the Uttar Mimamsa, of the last portion of the Veda, Jnana-kanda Upanishad, but he has also revealed the mistakes, the discrepancies, the flaws and the faults found within all the other preceding five systems of philosophies, and he has concluded that his system, which is the last system of philosophy in sequential order, is all conclusive and is full of, is not endowed with the fault of deficiency, but it has the full conclusion of the Shastra, whether the other preceding five systems of philosophy do not contain the full conclusion of the Shastra. That is what Vedas has finally concluded after a long debate with the Sankhya Darshan, with the Nyaya Darshan, with the Vaisheshik Darshan, with the Purva Mimamsa Darshan, and with the Yoga Darshan. He has repeated the viewpoints of all the five systems of philosophy. And not only the five systems of philosophy, the other types of philosophies like Pashupat Darshan, Raseshwar Darshan, Panini Darshan, Charvaka Darshan, Pratyabhidya Darshan, Sugat Bauddha Darshan, Jain Darshan. Although Buddha and Buddhism and Jainism started after lot of time after Vyasadeva wrote the four Vedas and the Brahma Sutra. Brahma Sutra was written 550 centuries back, 5,000 years before, at the time of Lord Krishna. Vyasadeva was contemporary of Lord Krishna. And Buddha, the founder of Buddhism, and Arihant, the founder of Jainism, they appeared 2,500 years after Vyasadeva wrote Vedanta Sutra. And 2,500 years from now, exactly in between. Because 5,000 years have passed since the time Vedanta Sutra was written by Vyasadeva. So in Madhya Kalyug, in the central time, in the central part of Kalyug, the founders of Buddhism and Jainism appeared. But because they were rejecting the authority of the Vedas, that is why Vyasadeva in Sarvagya, being omniscient, he knew from before that Sugat Bauddha Darshan and the Adhar Darshan of Jainism will appear in time. So he has already refuted the viewpoints of all these upcoming systems of philosophies in his already preceding Vedanta Sutra. So, in Vedanta Sutra, because Vedanta Sutra or Brahma Sutra is the essence of all the systems of philosophies, that is why it is considered to be representing the Nyaya Darshan, Nyaya Prasthan. Nyaya Prasthan means where logic, argument and reasoning is prevailing, and that is in all the systems of philosophy, logic, argument and reasoning is what decides what is the final conclusion. That is why Nyaya means logic, argument and reasoning. And because all the different systems of philosophies, they are mainly dependent upon logic, argument and reasoning, that is why among all the different systems of philosophies established on logic, argument and reasoning, Vedanta Darshan or the Brahma Sutra of Vyasadeva is the topmost because it defeats all the other systems of philosophy, and that is why Vedanta Darshan or Brahma Sutra is considered representing Nyaya Prasthan. So these are the three divisions of Vedic literatures. And since the time of Adi Shankaracharya is the one who started the tradition 1200 years back. He is the first Acharya to start the tradition of writing commentaries in Sanskrit language on Shruti Prasthan, Nyaya Prasthan and Smriti Prasthan. And he made the rule that anyone in India, any founder of any sect, his sect or his sampradaya will be considered bona fide and authorized only if that founder is able to write commentary or bhashya on these three prasthanas. And that bhashya or prasthana should be different in viewpoint from the already existing bhashya on prasthanatrayam. Only then he can establish a different sampradaya or sect in a bona fide way. This is the tradition started by Adi Shankaracharya. One who can write bhashya or commentary on Bhagavad Gita, that is Smriti Prasthana. One who can write commentary on the 10 Upanishads, Shruti Prasthana. And one who can write commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. And if that commentary differs in viewpoint from the already existing commentaries, then he has full right to start a new sampradaya. It is not that if he uses the same logic, argument and viewpoint of the already existing commentary, then he cannot be considered the founder of a separate new sampradaya. No, that means he is just stealing the thoughts of any previous commentator. No, this cannot be established. This cannot be rightful or justful. So, this was the tradition started by Shankaracharya. And Ramanujacharya, the first Vaishnava Acharya, he followed the tradition by writing Shri Bhashya commentaries on all the three prasthanas. Then Madhvacharya followed, second Vaishnava Acharya, historically speaking. They are all coming after Shankara. So, Madhvacharya also followed, he established the theory of Dvait. Shankaracharya established the theory of Kevaladvait, pure monism. Kevaladvait. The living entity and the absolute truth are completely different. They are one and the same. When the absolute truth, Parabrahma, becomes illusioned or deluded by Maya, then he turns into the living entity. How unlawful it is to say like this. That Parabrahma जो है वो माया के द्वारा प्रभावित होकर, माया के द्वारा मोहित होकर जीवात्मा के रूप में परिणत हो जाता है. इसका मतलब कि परब्रह्म में परब्रह्म तो ही कहा था. ब्रह्म शब्द का अर्थ है महान. ब्रह्म means ब्रह्म literally according to the grammar, Brahma, the word Brahma means one who is greatest, mahan. Then where remains the greatness of Parabrahma if he becomes deluded, if he becomes enchanted, if he becomes charmed, if he becomes attracted, if he becomes influenced by Maya, and it turns into the living entity. And then living entity, after that Maya or the nescience or avidya, again uncovers or unveils the knowledge of the living entity. If the Maya, she leaves the living entity, or if the living entity becomes separated from the clutches of Maya, then he again turns into the same original absolute truth, Parabrahma Almighty. But then what's the guarantee that even after becoming Almighty, the Maya will not again influence the Parabrahma and will not again turn it into the living entity? That is why their philosophy is full of fault. Yes, Kevaladvaitwada Shankaracharya. And then Vishishtadvait, established by Ramanuj, the first Vaishnava Acharya. Then Purnadvait, full dualism. Vishishtadvait means qualified monism, specific type of monism, established by Ramanujacharya. And Kevaladvait means only monism, that is Shankaracharya. Ramanujacharya Vishishtadvait means specific or qualified monism, very special type of monism. Then Madhvacharya is Purnadvait, full and only dualism. Living entities are completely separate from the Lord. They are eternally separate but not ultimately separate because no vijatiya bhed. That we already explained. That is Madhvacharya's conception. Then comes Nimbar or Nimbaditya. And he establishes the theory of Swabhavik Bhedabhed, the theory of natural oneness and difference, the theory of natural unity and difference of Jivatma and Paramatma, Swabhavik Bhedabhed. Then comes fourth Vaishnavacharya, Vallabhacharya, who is representing Vishnu Swami Sampradaya, and he writes the fourth commentary on the Prasthanatrayi in the Vaishnava line of thought. And that establishes Shuddha Advaitva, or pure monism. Shankaracharya is Keval Advait, only monism. Vallabhacharya or Vishnu Swami is pure monism, Pushtimar thought. That is pure monism. And then comes Jiva Goswami, then comes after Vallabhacharya, comes Jiva Goswami. Although they were contemporaries, Samkali, but still Jiva Goswami has written after Vallabhacharya. So after Vallabhacharya, Jiva Goswami propounds his idea of Achintya Veda Bhedva. Achintya Veda Bhedva means simultaneous oneness and difference which is inconceivable. Achintya. Simultaneous oneness and difference existing between Jivatma and Paramatma, which is inconceivable. That theory he established. And after this theory, no other Vad, no other theory based on the Prasthanatrayi has been established since 5 centuries in India. This is the historical record. The last commentary on all the 3 Prasthanas, on all the 3, Shruti, Smriti and Nyaya, the last commentaries on all the 3 Prasthanas is the commentary of Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, or the disciplic line coming from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because although Jiva Goswami did not write commentary on the Prasthanatrayi, but he established the idea of Achintya Veda Bhedva within his Shat Sandarbha or Bhagavat Sandarbha, which is explanation of Srimad Bhagavatam. But later on, 250 years after Jiva Goswami, or I would say 200 years, 200 years after Jiva Goswami and 300 years from now, 200 years from Jiva Goswami and 300 years from now, that is in 16th century, last part, middle part of the 16th century, 1750, around that time, 1715 AD, around that time, Shri Baladeva Vidyabhushan Pad, he is the first and the last commentator in our Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya on all the 3 Prasthanas. And historically speaking, if we compare him with all the different commentators of Vedanta Darshan, then he is the last commentator on Vedanta Darshan. He is the last commentator on the whole Prasthan Trayi. He is the last commentator on all the 3 Prasthanas. After Baladeva Vidyabhushan, no other Sampradaya, no other sect of following the Sanatana Vedic Dharma, no other sect, no other Sampradaya has written commentaries in Sanskrit establishing new line of thought, establishing new conception based on the Prasthanatrayi. Gaudiya Sampradaya reserves the last credit, and that is why Baladeva Vidyabhushan is quite well aware of all the flaws, all the mistakes, discrepancies and deficiencies existing in the commentaries of Prasthanatrayi written by the preceding acharyas who have established other different sects. And that is why he will not make the same mistake. Rather, the commentary that he will write will be completely devoid of all the flaws. Because what has been done, Shankaracharya has written something. And then Ramanujacharya finds fault with him. And then makes his theory appear as super to Shankaracharya. But because Gaudiya Sampradaya has the last Sanskrit commentary on the Prasthanatrayi, it is quite well aware of all the mistakes and flaws existing in all the preceding commentaries, and that is why it will not again make the same mistake. And whatever the Baladeva Vidyabhushan Pad will establish in the Prasthanatrayi's commentation will be completely devoid of all the faults and will be the ultimate Siddhanta. And since the last 300 years, no other Sampradaya has dared to write commentary on the 3 Prasthanas, and now, of course, there is no possibility, because now, as the Kali Yuga will continue more and more, the Smriti Shakti, the Medha Shakti, the intellectual power and the memory power, they will decrease day by day. And now we are seeing Sanatana Vedic Dharma does not have such type of scholars which used to. Everything is decreasing day by day. That is the Lakshana of Kali Yuga. That is why now there is no hope that any other Sampradaya will write any other new commentary establishing a new line of thought on the Prasthanatrayi. That is why we reserve the last status, and being the last, we are the most bona fide. Being the last. We know all the faults occurring in the preceding commentations, and we have not made the same faults reoccur. Rather, we have revised it completely. And it is the ultimate form of the explanation. It is the ultimate explanation that can be given on the Prasthanatraya. It is the ultimate explanation. There can be no explanation which is more appealing to the mind or which is more logical, reasonable and based on the Shastra than the explanation given by the followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So now we will try to establish the glories and the preeminence of Srimad Bhagavatam on top of all the other scriptures in tomorrow's session, because now we have crossed the time limits and time has to be respected, because time is known as Kal and Kal is one form of Shri Krishna. That is why Bhagavan appears in the form of Kal, time. That is why he is known as Kal Swarup. So now we will respect the time factor, the time feature of the Lord, and now we will not try to overdo our limits, and we will now again restart the session tomorrow. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Any short inquiry or comment which is relevant to the topic can be taken. If anyone has, they can very gladly present any inquiry or question.
What is the difference between Buddhism and...
Well, Lord Buddha utterly denied that I don't accept the Vedas as authority. Vedaha nasti pramanam, Buddha said. And Arihanta, the founder of Jainism, also said the same thing. Vedaha nasti pramanam. They are not authorized, Vedas. And another thing is the difference between Buddhism and Jainism that you are asking. Both are Gnostic. They do not accept that God exists. The general followers of Buddhism and Jainism do not know this. They are completely hodgepodge. But the original scriptures of Buddhism and Jainism clearly say that supernatural power like God does not exist. आप यदि बौद्ध धर्म के मूल ग्रंथों को पढ़ें जो कि पाली भाषा में लिखे गए हैं, जो तत्कालीन 2500 वर्ष पहले भारत के बिहार प्रांत की या पूर्व भारत की जो है भाषा मानी जाती थी, पाली भाषा जो संस्कृत से बिल्कुल मिलती जुलती है, तो पाली भाषा में बौद्ध धर्म के मूल ग्रंथों की रचना हुई बुद्ध के शिष्यों द्वारा, आनंद इत्यादि जो भिक्षु थे, शिष्य थे उनके द्वारा। तो उन भदंतों के द्वारा, उन बौद्ध भिक्षुओं के द्वारा जो इन बौद्ध ग्रंथों की रचना हुई, उसमें सर्वप्रधान ग्रंथ है धम्मपाद। और दूसरे भी कई सारे ग्रंथ हैं। यदि आप काशी जाएं, वाराणसी, बनारस, तो बनारस से 10 किलोमीटर दूर सारनाथ, जो कि विश्वव्यापी बुद्ध धर्म का केंद्र स्थान है, हेडक्वार्टर्स। तो सारनाथ में सभी ग्रंथ उपलब्ध हैं पाली भाषा में, और संस्कृत भाषा में भी बौद्ध धर्म के कुछ ग्रंथों की रचना हुई। तो बौद्ध धर्म की मान्यता यह है, the thought of Buddhism according to the original scriptures of Buddhism, original books of Buddhism, the thought is that entity like God does not exist, and the living entity is only living and will only be living until the time of death. After death happens, after death occurs, and there is no such thing like living entity. Living entity cannot live any more after the death occurs. And the philosophy of Vedanta, Bhagavad Gita and the Sanatana Vedic Dharma is that living entity is eternal. He never dies, even after leaving the body. And that's another difference. They do not consider Jivatma, living entity, to be eternal. Second thing, they do not consider God to be existing at all. Both Buddhism and Jainism, same philosophy. Kshanik Vigyanva, their theory is known as Kshanik Vigyan, because Jivatma is known as Vigyanmaya. According to Veda, Jivatma is known as Vigyanmaya. Vigyanmaya means Jivatma, living entity, is full of consciousness. Vigyan is consciousness, thinking, feeling, willing and desiring. This is what living entity is, consciousness, personified, Vigyanmaya. But Buddhism and Jainism say that this Vigyan, that this consciousness of the living entity is temporary, Kshanik Vigyanva. Another thing is, Buddhism has no specific idea about the shape, size, texture, length, breadth and height of the living entity or the form of living entity. But Jainism gives a specific idea. Jainism says that living entity, although actually, in one sense, Jainism is not fully accepting that living entity is temporary. But in some sense it is accepting. The Buddhists are fully accepting that living entity is a temporary object. But the Jainism to some extent is accepting the eternality of the living entity. जीवात्मा की नित्यता को कुछ हद तक जैन धर्म स्वीकार करता है. So according to Jainism, living entity enters in whatever body, it assumes the same shape as the body it is entering into. Like, it has no permanent shape. According to Jainism, the Jivatma or the living entity, the soul, has no permanent shape. If it enters the body of an ant, then it will become as small as ant. The living entity will become as small as the ant, as the body of the ant. If the same living entity enters into the body of an elephant, it will become as big as an elephant. The shape of the elephant and the shape of the living entity will be the same, although they are different from each other. They accept the difference between Sharir and Atma. The Jainism and the Buddhism, both of them, they accept the difference between body and soul, Sharir and Atma. In that sense, they are accepting Gita's philosophy, but in many ways they are different than in the basic fundamentals of the Siddhanta. So, Jainism says if the soul enters body of python, it becomes transformed into the size of python. But that is not accepted by the Veda. The Shvetashvatara Upanishad says that Keshakrashatabhāgasya Shatadhā Kalpitasya cha, and another Upanishad says Bālakrashatabhāgasya Shatadhā Kalpitasya cha, that the actual size of the Jivatma or living entity is like if you take a single hair, tip of the hair, if you divide the tip of the hair into 10,000 parts, one part among those 10,000 parts is equaling the shape and the size of the living entity. That's how small living entity is. And he has permanent size, fixed size. He can never change. But that living entity who has a fixed size, if he enters into the body of an elephant, he becomes pervaded throughout all the different parts, limbs, organs and nooks and corners of the body of elephant, Hasti Deha or Gaja Deha, through his consciousness, not through his direct self. He directly does not expand as big as the elephant is. Rather, his consciousness expands. Just like sun has its fixed shape, right? Sun or Surya has a fixed shape. Do you think the sun expands into the whole universe? Then he would become the same size as the whole universe. And that is completely absurd. That is completely absurd, illogical, unreasonable and irrational. Cannot be established on sound basis. Sun is not expanding itself into the size of the universe. He is expanding himself through his consciousness, or through his rays, through his effulgence, through his prakash, jyoti. Through his effulgence he is expanding, not that he himself becomes expanded into the size of the universe. In the same way, according to the Vedas, living entity Jivatma himself does not expand according to the size of elephant body, or the size of ant's body, or the size of any other species. Only the consciousness of the living entity, as soon as living entity enters into human body, living entity is 1/10 part of the tip of the head. As a fixed size, he stays in the heart, along with the super soul Kshirodakshayi Vishnu as his witness and as his buddy, fellow, peer mate. But then, the living entity, although he stays in the heart of the human body, he expands in all the parts and limbs, organs of the body through his consciousness, just like the sun expands through its rays. But that is not what is accepted by the Jainism. And because they consider that Atma or living entity changes its size, shape and form every time it enters into every different body, that is why according to them Atma is mutable. It is full of mutation. विकार मय है, आत्मा विकार मय है. विकार मतलब जब भी थोड़ा सा बदलाव आ जाए किसी भी चीज में, किसी भी वस्तु में जब भी थोड़ा सा बदलाव आ जाए तो विकार उपस्थित हो जाता है. If in any object, if little change or amendment in its identity occurs, mutation occurs. But the Vedas say that living entity is completely devoid of the fault of mutation. Living entity is completely above vikar, or the fault of mutation. It can never change. It always stays in the same form and in the same nature and same identity. That is why Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Atma ek rasah kutastha. Atma or the living entity, the spirit soul is ek ras, it never changes. This is the answer. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We have left Bhagavata's glorification because the time does not allow. Tomorrow we will complete hopefully, and then we will proceed on to our proposed topic of discussion, the Chatushloki Bhagavatam. Now we will have the Arati, we will conduct the Arati, and then we are all invited to take prasadam, order prasadam. Hare Krishna. Please stay and follow up in the Arati process. Actually, from ISKCON Seattle, His Grace Bhaj Govind Prabhu has arrived. He used to stay and he was brahmachari in our ISKCON temple in Vrindavan, Krishna Balaram temple for many years. In last 2 years he has come to United States. He is the head pujari of the ISKCON Seattle temple, and he has especially come here to take part in this Bhagavad Katha from Seattle.